So the chapter 3, the first example is, um, you know that it's building often skip the 13th floor, and elevator should do too. So, for example, the 14th floor is really the 13th floor because people really hate number 13. Typically, if you go to the elevator, there's no button for the 13th floor, and so if you push 15, right, the button 15, then actually you are going to what? The 14th, right? And if you push 14, and you're actually going to the 12th floor, but that's like the floor above 12th. So, but let's say if you push 9, then actually you're going to the 9th floor, right? So let's say you want to program this circumstance, right? Then basically take a look at this flow chart, okay? In the flow chart, it's basically the diamond shape is the conditions. So let's say the user enters a floor. If the floor is greater than 13, if that is true, then actual floor is floor minus 1. And the floor, if it's not, that's not the case. If that is a false, right? If that is a false, then actual floor is basically the floor, right? So this is the actual the program, right? So if the floor is, so user enters the floor, right? So, and then if the user enters, let's say 10, right? Then this becomes a 10 is greater than 13? No, right? So this Boolean expression becomes false. Therefore, this else statement will be executed, right? So actual floor is, let's say the floor is a 10, and then actual floor is a 10. But if the floor is, let's say, if the user enters 15, which is greater than 13, right? Then this becomes true. So the actual floor becomes what? 15 minus 1, which is 14. So let's say if the user enters 15, then elevator will travel to the actual floor, what? 14. Or if the floor is a 20, if the user enters 20, the elevator will travel to actual floor 19. Right? By the way, this is called flow chart. In the flow chart, diamond bar means the conditions in the if statement, and the box means a statement, right? And this arrow means if this is a true, then execute this statement, and if it's not, when this statement, if this Boolean expression becomes false, then execute this statement. Okay. And the compound statement, the if statement is a compound statement, as you can see, the if and else, and within the if you have multiple statements, right? So that's why it's called a compound statement. And if you have a compound statement, you must have a in case of if construct the statement block. Okay. Oh. The compound statement requires a colon, right, at the end of the header, right? For example, let's take a look at this example. So at the end, right, at the end, it always requires a compound statement. I mean the semicolon, right? Semicolon, semicolon, and then semicolon. Oops, I missed the semicolon, right? And then the semicolon. So at the end of the header, the statement blocks the group one or more statement and all indented to the same column, right? So as you can see, it has all indentations. And this is like indentations, and then we have indentation, 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 and indentations. You have to have all the statement has to be aligned. So let's see. Oh, the last thing is the relational operators. So so in the Python, right? Python is this means greater than, and this means greater than or equal to, and the less than and less than or equal to, and equal and not equal. So, so every if statement has a conditions and usually compare two values with an operator. So let me talk about this in the next lecture slide. Next lecture. So let me just stop my lecture here. So